This is the VOA Special English Health Report. A few months ago, government researchers released the latest American Time Use Survey. It included the average time per day that Americans spent providing child care between 2006 and 2010. Among adults living with children under age 6, women spent 1 hour and 6 minutes a day providing physical care, like bathing or feeding. Men spent 26 minutes. Yet a new study suggests that men are biologically designed to care for their children. It confirmed that testosterone levels drop after men become fathers. Testosterone is the main sex hormone responsible for the changes when a boy develops into a man. Women also produce testosterone, but in much lower amounts. Earlier studies showed that fathers have lower levels of testosterone than childless men. Christopher Kuzawa at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, says there are at least two possible explanations. Is it that fatherhood reduces your testosterone? Or do men with low testosterone to begin with, are they more likely to become fathers? And so what we did is we followed men through time and measured their hormones before and after they became fathers. The researchers used findings from a long-term study of men in the Philippines. Their testosterone levels were measured in 2005 and 2009. Some of the men were childless. Others became fathers during that time. And those were the men where the researchers saw the largest decline in testosterone. The study found that levels dropped by about half immediately after the birth of a child, then rose some. Men who were active in childcare produced less than those who were not active. Testosterone may drop in fathers to get them to pay more attention to parenting than to reproducing. But Professor Kuzawa says there are other good reasons as well. Having high levels of testosterone can increase your risk for diseases like prostate cancer and testicular cancer. The study is in the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Studies have shown a similar drop in other mammals and in birds after mating periods to allow for caregiving. Animal studies have also shown that the greater the involvement of males, the lower their testosterone levels. We asked Thomas McDade, another author of the study, if levels also drop in men who adopt children. That is an interesting question, he says, and the next obvious thing to study. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. Have you ever heard the expression, a ball of energy? People often use the term to describe very active children. But today, we tell about an invention called the socket that is a real ball of energy. A woman who developed the socket calls it a cutting-edge portable generator in the form of a soccer ball. Julia Silverman developed the socket with Jessica Matthews as part of a group project for an engineering class at Harvard University. To better understand what a socket is, you first need to understand how it works. When you play with a ball, a lot of energy is transferred or moves to the ball. Julia Silverman says the socket captures this energy before it is lost or breaks up into the environment. Her invention attempts to capture the energy and then store it for future use. The socket collects and stores this energy with every kick, hit, or throw of the ball. Julia Silverman says users can connect small electrical devices, like a light, directly into the ball. For every 15 minutes of gameplay, the socket can provide enough electricity to power an LED lamp for up to 3 hours. The ball can store up to 24 hours worth of power. The International Energy Association reported last year that nearly 1.5 billion people do not have access to electricity. Most of them live in India, other Asian nations, and in Africa, south of the Sahara. Julia Silverman and Jessica Matthews both had experience in developing countries before they began the project. They knew that power shortages are a serious problem in many areas. Julia Silverman says there is an energy crisis in the world. She notes that 1 in every 5 people does not have any electricity. And there are health issues because those with no electricity may use devices like kerosene lamps, which can produce a lot of smoke. Ms. Silverman says the socket is one small solution to a big problem. Jessica Matthews and Julia Silverman have started a nonprofit organization called Uncharted Play. They hope their socket ball will shine more light on the problem of power shortages. It offers people a chance to put their energy into the world's most popular sport and get some energy in return. And that's the VOA Special English Technology Report. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
This is the VOA Special English Health Report. How many calories we eat appears to be more important than what we eat when we eat too much. That was the finding of a new study that should be satisfying to anyone who counts calories for weight control. More than 1 billion adults are overweight. The World Health Organization calls obesity a global epidemic. Government researchers have just reported their latest estimates for the United States. The good news, obesity rates have not increased much in recent years. The bad news, they have not decreased either. More than 1/3 of adults were obese in 2009 and 2010. Anyone who has ever tried to lose weight knows there are all kinds of conflicting diet plans. Some tell people not to eat carbohydrates. Others say not to eat fats. Still others say to eat more protein or to eat less protein. Dr. George Bray at the Pennington Biomedical Research Center in Louisiana led the new study. He wanted to know if protein affects weight gain. 25 healthy adults were in the study. They were overfed by almost 1,000 calories a day over an 8-week period. Calories in food are a measure of energy. The people followed diets with low, normal, or high levels of protein. Normal was defined as 15% of energy from protein. Dr. Bray says all of them gained weight. Fat storage was exactly the same with all 3 levels of protein. It was the calories that they ate that affected the body fat that they stored. Those who ate a higher percentage of protein gained more lean body mass. Dr. Bray says the opposite happened on a low-protein diet. If your protein intake's low, you'll actually lose body mass even though you're eating an excess amount of calories. He tells his patients to weigh themselves regularly so they can know quickly if they gain weight. His study appeared in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Dr. Dariush Mozaffarian at the Harvard School of Public Health studies the relationship between diet and conditions like heart disease and diabetes. He says, we don't need to go down a list of avoid this, avoid that, become, food police. It's really actually mostly foods that should be increased. It's fruits, vegetables, whole grains, fish, vegetable oils, and nuts. He says increasing these 6 foods by about 1 serving each day would reduce obesity and help slow the epidemic of obesity-related diseases. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. You can find a video about the study at voaspecialenglish.com. From VOA Learning English, welcome to the Economics Report in Special English. China has been struggling to deal with record levels of smog over Beijing. Recently, officials in several Chinese cities announced plans to trade carbon credits as a way to reduce air pollution. For many years, China considered economic growth more important than the environment. The nation remains hungry for energy, but it has also become the world's biggest producer of carbon gases. Beijing's smoggy days have made international news. Small particles in the air reduce visibility and threaten public health. Smog has been a concern in the city for years, but a sharp rise in pollution levels in January led to sharp criticism from many Chinese. Pollution from coal-burning power centers and factories is a big part of the problem. Now, officials hope to control industrial air pollution by creating systems to trade carbon credits. The trading systems, or platforms, would enable companies to receive credits for lowering greenhouse gas emissions. The credits can then be traded. The goal of these market-based platforms is to get businesses to invest in clean technology. Markets for carbon credits are expected to open this year in 7 cities, including Beijing, Shanghai, and Tianjin. Officials say the government has decided to start with pilot programs because carbon trading is something new. China wants to launch a national carbon trading program by 2016. Still, public pressure continues building on the government to find an answer to thick air pollution. Wu Changhua is with the Climate Group. She says the Chinese people are looking at more than jobs. They want a better environment, too. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Many new college graduates in the United States have trouble finding a job in the weak economy. But not graduates from the California Maritime Academy. The Academy is the only school of its kind on the West Coast. Students attend classes on the university campus in Northern California. But they also gain experience by going to sea in a floating classroom, the training ship Golden Bear. 288 cadets recently sailed on a 2-month international training cruise. The ship travels south to the Panama Canal. Along the way, it visits countries in Central America and the Caribbean. Vasile Tudoran is a mechanical engineering student at the California Maritime Academy. He spends much of his time working deep in the heart of the ship. He says he is not worried about finding a job. Robert Jackson is one of his teachers. He says the majority of the Academy's students have between 1 and 2 job offers before they complete their studies. He says most of those job offers are between $60,000 and $120,000 a year. In addition to working on ships, he says, engineering graduates from the Academy also get jobs with power companies and satellite companies. Instructor Bill Schmidt says the situation for marine transportation students is not as bright as it was before the economic downturn, but it is recovering. He says most Academy graduates are employed in the industry if they want to be. He also says the coursework is demanding because ship's officers are almost like doctors or airplane pilots. He says people working in the shipping industry have to make the right decision all the time. He says a success rate of 70% is unacceptable. The California Maritime Academy has a 94% job placement rate. Still, only about 900 students are currently studying there. Cadet Andrew DeTucci says the Academy is different from a traditional college. It is a paramilitary school, and the students must wear uniforms. Andrew DeTucci is majoring in marine transportation. He says when he was growing up, he was always told it takes a special person to want to go to sea for a living. In his words, my favorite thing about it is waking up every morning and seeing nothing but the ocean on all sides of you. I get a thrill out of that. For VOA Special English, I'm Mario Ritter.
So Rivka, today on Talk to Us, we are asking people ahead of the anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks on the United States, that's tomorrow, we're asking people, how do you think we can prevent terrorism in the future?
What's the best way? In any country, obviously Indonesia has had terrorist attacks, and what do you think is the best way to prevent terrorism?
Well, for me, it's a different case in Indonesia, right? Because, as you know, Indonesia is it's not a long story, but we have a special story about terrorism, in Indonesia. For me, as learning from my country, I think the best approach is from education. because most of the terrorism network, they usually recruit the young people who are usually poor and undereducated, and they recruit them and they make like promises for wealth and a better living by becoming one of the member. So for me, education is the best approach, especially for young people.
And so if they're promising a better way of living in addition to education, and I'd like to know what kind of education you think, it also sounds like young people might need more jobs, for example.
Yes, exactly. So for me, like education, as far as I know, maybe the best like formal education in schools. The school should teach them how to, make a better life, like giving moral like life lessons and how to be. I'm not saying like how to be a good person, but giving them what should I say, like something that can carry in their life, something that they can hold on to, something without to live without being, to involve in any extreme actions.
I believe that terrorism started as a revenge, as there were military operation over there and a number of other issues, and I feel sorry for them because I feel I am involved in such kind of issues, as I'm one of the Pakistani who is supporting army, and army is there fighting against militants. In fact, militants want something improvement in their area, or Islamic societies there, or whatever their requirements are. We need to discuss them.
So when you say you feel like terrorism is revenge carried out by which side? The militants? Or
Yeah, I believe that by the militants.
But why, if we can get to the root of why you think they are carrying out the revenge, how would you prevent that revenge from taking place at all?
Well, as you said, the revenge is always a reaction. First, you have to stop action for that.
What do you think they're reacting to?
Well, I believe that it is because of military involvement in the FATA and all the border areas where our military is operating currently. Plus, as we were supporting US in Afghanistan, and that was the major issue.
And so if you were to look back on how the events have unfolded after the U.S. invaded Afghanistan, and then militants started using Pakistan as a base to attack Afghanistan, and then the Pakistani army started fighting against the militants.
Yeah.
What would you suggest as an alternative to the current conflict that's happening in your country, on both the military side and the militant side?
Well, we need to clarify that as we see that militants on their side, they think that they are fighting for Pakistan, and military of course is fighting for Pakistan as well. So why they are killing each other if they both are fighting for Pakistan, for the peoples of Pakistan? They need to sit together, they need to talk to each other, that what is the solution.
Then what do you think is the solution in terms of how do you get the two sides to come together, or to realize that perhaps they share common ground, as you just described?
Yeah. Well, I see that the basic roots were again in Afghanistan, as army was supporting USA over there, and as we Muslims consider that USA is against Muslims, and Afghanistan as it was being led by Muslims. So we consider that the Pakistan army shouldn't fight against Afghanis or with the USA over there, and this will be the first thing. But I don't consider that our army will be turning back from the Afghan war, as we have led number of fights there, and we are supporting since long.
What do you think is the best way to prevent terrorism?
Prevent terrorism? Best way to means we should search all the time, like our government should search all the time.
search all the time?
Yeah, search all the time, and we should look like the people in our surroundings. If we have doubt, so like as a public, like we should inform them if we have any doubts or any discussion nearby.
So you think that the authorities should search for weapons, for example, or plans for
Yeah,
terrorism?
plans. Yeah, people like surrounding people. If we have suspicious nature people.
Would
So
you encourage more police to be on the streets of the United States, for example? Do you want more cameras? How
yeah,
would this searching take place?
Right. I mean,
yeah,
it's
like security should be tight. Like security everywhere should be tight and everywhere. Like even though in the streets and the so that would be nice. Like if the security is tight, like camera, some people like the government people, not in the police dress. Like they must be in the usual dress,
They must be in regular plainclothes
the
dress.
regular clothes. Yeah.
yeah. Well, so now, how long have you lived in the U.S.?
Oh, I have been living in the U.S. For 3 years.
3 years. And so how would you compare? I mean, here we are, we're a day before the 12th anniversary of the September 11th attacks on New York and Washington. How would you compare security here to the way it was, let's say, in India?
Oh, India, India's security is not good. Security here is good. As the big country, they have more danger. Don't you think so? As a big country, more successful country, developed country is more dangerous. So everyone, we know. But India has also a lot of, crisis before that. But I think security is tight on airports and everywhere when we go. There's a lot of security now.
What do you think is the best way to prevent terrorism?
Okay, I don't get you because your voice is not clear. If it's possible, right in the sky.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. We just wrote.
There you go.
What is the best way to prevent terrorism? Oh my God, no. We are sure that we are not terrorists because the world like America, okay, told Iran is terrorist, but Iran is not terrorist.
I think that when you want to prevent terrorists, you need to inform the people about this phenomenon, and also you need to inform them about the reality of our.
You need to inform the people about the reality of what?
Reality of religions, especially,
Religions?
and about why the people religious.